Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. How retiring early conquered one of my biggest fears. I almost always look forward to doing my videos, but not today. This is going to be a short live where I do something a little bit out of character. If you want your questions answered during a live stream by somebody who retired early, made work optional after 12 years of investing, and retired at the age of 52 in 2022, that'll be me. And every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, I do videos, live streams like this that go as long as the questions do. Today's going to be a little different. I am not normally the type of person who would talk about, admit to, or even bring up fears. I've been a Marine, a cop, and a truck driver. And I've had other jobs too, but those were the main job fields that I worked in. And those are not working environments where you should express your emotions, right? You lose respect in leadership if you share emotions. You get ridiculed. Your friends and coworkers don't tolerate that. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I probably contributed to that environment myself. So in this video, I want to share one of my largest fears and how retiring early conquered it. And maybe you have this same fear. But to kind of set the stage, I want to share a couple of fears that I've had in my life and how I got past them. So you understand like the category of fear that I'm talking about, right? I'm a Desert Storm veteran, went to the desert and planted flowers in the desert. And I don't have the normal fear of pain or injury or being unalived. At some point, we all look forward to that. I have weird fears. Maybe you've had something like this. So when I was a kid, my dad left when I was 8 and took my oldest brother, who I'm very close to now. But at the time, it was, I would say, traumatic because if nothing severe occurs in your life, whatever occurs in your life will seem severe. And after 4 years or so, he came back into the state where I lived and he became a weekend father for a while. And so I always grew up with this fear of I never wanted to be a weekend father. So in my more than one divorces, I always fought for custody, maintained custody, and raised my kids. So I had this fear driving me of not becoming a weekend parent. And uh, I also had this weird fear because I have the inability to maintain a healthy relationship. I mean, with my kids, it's great, but outside of that, and this is a weird fear to admit to, but I'm just trying to set the stage so you understand the level of fear that retiring early conquered. Uh, I always had this fear since I couldn't maintain a healthy relationship, right? And I understand it's never their fault. It takes two people to make or break a relationship, so I'm a factor as well. But I had this fear of becoming that, oh, this mental image of the old bitter guy sitting in a strip club just hating life. And so I had to learn how to be happy single to avoid that, right? So that's the type of fear I'm talking about. Things that just sit in the back of your mind and kind of drive some of your decisions. So before retiring, like I said, I've been a Marine, a cop, a truck driver, and the Marines downsized after Desert Storm. Law enforcement downsized after the 2008 housing crash. So I kept getting my type of occupation taken away due to things outside of my control. Well, around 2010, it was like 2009, I started working at a CDL school. Didn't realize how much I enjoy teaching. Didn't realize why I would enjoy making a YouTube channel where I teach people how to reach financial freedom, make work optional. I like taking concepts and putting them into learnable formats where the information can be retained. So I started teaching at the CDL school and I really loved it. Like I'd driven trucks for a long time and I listened to a lot of Audible books and I loved the job, but teaching, I got to take people and put a career in their hands. And it wasn't always driving, right? There was a lot of people who wanted to be an electrician or a lineman, and you need a CDL for that. Or they wanted to work county jobs, you need a CDL for that. Or they wanted to manage drivers, and they needed to have the certifications they're going to manage, right? So I was teaching people in all different fields. I really liked it. But apparently, I'm pretty decent at talking to people. And I've had some pretty good out of the box ideas. So I had a few ideas and concepts like founding a nonprofit that helped people find non-driving jobs to help grow the CDL school. So I was quickly demoted down to president of the company. And I grew the company from 6 staff to 60, one location to 5. took the profit from 5 digits to 7 digits over the next couple of years, the profit of that. And I really loved the job. I had control of my schedule. I get to hire almost anybody I knew. I could make jobs for people that I knew to grow the company. So every time I went into work, drove to a different campus or saw one of our commercial driver school trucks driving around in Washington State where I live, this fear would kick in. And it was in the back of my head. Now, the Marines had been taken away due to downsizing. Law enforcement had been taken away due to budget cuts, right? Like I've been in this situation before. Now, to grow a company, I always made sure I didn't do anything illegal or unethical because while prison is the ultimate house hack, it's not my retirement plan. And so I was always working in a gray area, right? I haven't worked there now for years, so I can admit to some of these things, but uh, the relationships built with people who worked in state agencies or owners of companies that we worked with, right, to make sure that the students had jobs to go to make sure that we had funding sources to pay for people, like all the things I was doing and the ways of growing the company. At any point in time, I could have just had an idea that said, hey, let's try. And I've had several. I had one, let's put a campus in King County, which is I would never own a rental. But I said, let's put it in King County. I did the research. I studied for about 6 months. I said, hey, based on my metrics, we're going to make about this much money. I factored it to be about $500,000 and ended up, it was about 510,000. So I was that close on my metric. But what if I had predicted, done my metrics and studied, this is how many employers we have, this is what the population base is like, this is the percentage of veterans, this is our access to funding, this is all the research I did to grow this company. So this can be related to whatever you're doing, whatever job you're doing, the risks you take to grow your job. Because if you're not pushing the envelope, you're not doing growth. Could have backfired. We could have lost money there. I've had other ideas where we broke even, but if you have enough ideas that don't work out, you'd be let go. Maybe I get aged out, right? Maybe I lose my med card, can't be a driver anymore. All these things can change. I regret, or not regret, I feel the loss of losing the Marine Corps. I feel the loss of losing law enforcement. Kind of happy I didn't go back into law enforcement because of something my kid said one time. But this job, this, Cody's texting me. I want to make sure it's not that my sound's not working. I don't know if I would have ever wanted to experience the loss of losing the job that I built. I built the company. It wasn't mine. I was building it for someone else, but I grew it and I was involved in every aspect of it. And I usually say, oh, I worked 50 to 60 hours a week. It was 24 hours a day, right? We had a 6 a.m. crew to 3 p.m. and then 3 p.m. to midnight. So we had 6 a.m. to midnight, somebody working. And then from midnight to 6 p.m., things had to be done to make sure everything would be ready for training. So I don't know that I ever had time. We had weekend training, right? We had free backing training on Saturdays and events on Sundays. Every part of my life for a decade was this job. And it would have devastated me. This is where it's hard to admit emotions and why I don't do many videos like this. Don't know if I'll leave it up. We'll see. It would have devastated me to lose that job. But investing, putting my money to work, finding a job for my money, creating income more than I've ever had in any job from a source where I don't have to work for it, and understanding what time freedom was and how all the things in the world that we can experience are usually blocked by how much time we have to spend making money. We're all in survival mode for so long. We just get used to thinking, well, I don't know what I would do without a job because I can't fill my time. Well, of course you can't fill your time because right now, working 40 to a billion hours a week, you're exhausted when you're off. So most of us have the energy to turn on a screen and watch a show or play a game or maybe hang out with family or something. But imagine having, instead of 5 hours a day where you're exhausted, 15 hours every single day where you have all the energy you need and the money to do everything that you want to. The whole world opens up to you. So making the decision instead of having the decision made to walk away from a job that I loved because there's so much more to life than even having a job that you love. I don't have that loss. I don't have that uh, emotional connection to when I see a commercial driver school truck go by, or I drive by one of the campuses, or I go to lunch with one of the people who still works there. I feel good. I feel like I left on my terms at my timetable by my choice. And I think if you have had the fear or the thought that feels like fear, that if you got fired, you'd be devastated. If your company downsized, you'd crush you. If your work was outsourced out of the country, or if your field was replaced by AI or robotics or something, and you think, oh, I would just lose my entire self. If you make the decision and you make work optional, you can continue to work. If you choose to not, there's a whole wide world out here for you. Or maybe if you do that and then you lose your job, it's a little easier to swallow the pill of losing that if you have the income to make it to where you don't have to no go find another job that you're just trying to survive in. I hope this video makes you think. I hope you understand how hard this was for me to make. Uh, Let me know. Do you have fear of losing your job, your career, your certificates to work in the field that you do? And how would you feel if you replace that job with cash flowing assets? Right? It could be stocks, crypto, business, real estate, doesn't matter. Choose your poison, but to where work was optional. Would you still have that fear? Have a day full of amazing. If you want your questions answered, I will see you on Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific.